What do you think is the central belief of the Christian faith? What do you think the early Christians told their friends and family about Jesus before the Bible was even written? Well, they told them about the historical facts that people saw Jesus alive with their own eyes after he had been crucified and buried. After 3 days, they found the tomb empty. And then Jesus started appearing in person to friends and individuals, to groups of women, to his own brother, to over 500 people at one time. And these people realized that all the claims that Jesus made about himself, that he was the Son of God, that he was dying for every man and woman's sins while on the cross, that he could forgive them, and if they believed in him and surrendered their life to him, he would come into their life and empower them to live for him. And when they died, he would take them to heaven and give them eternal life. Now, this is the gospel that Jesus commanded all Christians to go into all the world and preach. Dr. Habermas calls this the foundation or the center of Christianity. I'd like you to listen.
Well, now maybe you might have a better idea of what I mean here when I said at the top of the program that we do have a good basis. Now, I'm talking about the center of Christianity, the death, the burial, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And we can get into a time frame that Paul is talking about this back about 35 AD with two of the central figures, Peter, the head apostle, James, the brother of Jesus, the pastor of the Church of Jerusalem. This is a strong basis, and this is the sort of thing that makes me surprised when I hear people saying, hey, there's no evidence here and there. And I just want to assure the person who's listening who said, well, you know, do we have to listen to these guys who say there's no historical basis, so we can barely find anything? Let them, you know, deal with this sort of data right here. 1 Corinthians 15 / Galatians 1 and 2 is a strong basis for the gospel. And you know, let me remind you here again, we're not talking with periphery things here. We're talking with the very center of the faith. Paul says he's met the risen Jesus on the way to Damascus. He's going up to talk to Peter and James. He comes back 14 years later. He wants to see if he was running or had run in vain. And they said, no, you're not. So they're checking him in Galatians 2. They said, you're fine. In 1 Corinthians 15:11, he says, whether it is I or they, this is what we preach, and this is what you believed. The we there is the apostles. He's saying, hear it from them, hear it from me. We're preaching the same message concerning what? The gospel and the resurrection appearances in general. What Paul says is, I didn't make this up. I got it from somebody else. I delivered to you, that's what I also received. Now look at verse 11. Whether then it was I or they, this is what we preach, and this is what you believed. I think what Paul is saying here is, ask the disciples. They'll give you the same thing I'm giving you. Ask me, I'll tell you. Now, what is this message? Just look at the previous verses. It's the gospel, and in particular, he's been talking about the appearances here. He's saying, I've talked to them. They've got the same message I have. They've talked to me. They commend me. You can go back and look at Galatians 2. This is why we are at a very special point in history where you can almost reach out and see what Paul's saying and touch his message. It's linked to time, space, history. It's words on a page. He's an accredited messenger. We've got ourselves a timeline. And folks, it's not an evangelical that came up with this timeline. This is largely developed in critical, non-evangelical theology. I think by using some of these methods, we see that we're on very firm grounds here regarding the very heart of our faith, the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ.